What's up, guys? Welcome to Operation B, the podcast. I am your host, Jamie Thurber, and I am here to take you on a journey of deepening, of expansion, of understanding more about who you are and why you're here and how to operate in an optimal way that allows you to do what you want to do, feel how you want to feel, take care of yourself truly, and support everything that your heart desires. Welcome back to another episode of Operation B. I'm Jamie, your host, and today we have a very special guest with us that I've gotten to know over the last 6 months or so, probably. And this is Angi Hess from Spas and More here in St. Louis. And I brought Angi on for several reasons. One of them is because she manages to help run a company with multiple locations that do very big numbers. So you're doing big shows and things like that. Mm-hmm. You have 2 kids.
Yes.
And you help take care of the rest of your family, the extended family, and you have several chronic illnesses that you deal with.
Yes.
And you're always smiling. Every time I see you, even when I know things are super stressful, you're smiling. And so over that time frame, I'm like, okay, yes, Angi and I need to sit down and have a conversation about this. So thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So with your chronic, we'll start there. With the chronic illness stuff, I know that you have a pretty complex situation going on. One that I couldn't even pretend to regurgitate to you. Before you tell us about it, my first question would be, how long did it take for you to find an answer about why you were feeling the way you were feeling or why your body was doing what it was doing?
I think it took about 3-4 years at least. Symptoms had been present for quite a while for some of it, but the actual trigger that really brought everything to the surface to where it's like, oh, okay, something's really wrong here, was actually when I was going through my divorce. Because I do have a fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia usually surfaces for some sort of traumatic trigger, and that going through my divorce is what brought that on.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't just that, and that's when actually it really wasn't until I moved here in like 2014 and started seeing a different rheumatologist that we finally, in about 2018, I think, came to the conclusion of the mixed connective tissue disorder, which has markers for systemic lupus, psoriatic arthritis, ulcerative colitis. Nothing actually says, hey, you have full-blown lupus, you have full-blown this. You can have any combination of symptoms. So on top of the fibromyalgia, on top of being a type 2 diabetic, on top of having chronic kidney disease. So it's like constant struggle, but it did. I think I would say the fibro surfaced in like 2012, but to actually have full definition, I think actually is more like 6 years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that seems pretty accurate, or longer. And it comes to a point where, in the part when I mentioned about you being able to, that you're always smiling and you stay positive and you're always trying to help people and running the company, and you do it with integrity, which is nice. Like, I see how you treat your coworkers and the people that work for you and your family and your customers. And it's just always as like a little nod to me where I look at people who are grumpy or not nice to other people, or they think their life is so stressful and so terrible. And not that I try to diminish other people's experiences, because obviously we all have our own stuff. But there are times where I think to myself, man, you have no idea. And and I know we've talked a little bit about how just to do regular day-to-day functions, and now it's just normal to us at this point, but we've had to learn how to be ultra prepared for everything, because you really also never know what's going to happen day to day, hour to hour sometimes.
Right.
And so learning to do that, and I think we've all probably gone through a really unhealthy way of learning how to do that, where you're just burned out over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Because like you've said before with your kids, like you didn't have a choice but to keep going. But finding a healthy balance, and I think for me, and you can speak to your own experience if this resonates, but to me, one of the most powerful pieces of that was learning that it was okay, that I wasn't okay. Sometimes, like, I could have been totally fine an hour ago, and then in 15 minutes, I could start to feel really terrible, and that's okay. And I could talk about it, and it was okay.
Right. I mean, it took a long time to actually just understand that, okay, I do have to step back. I've always been in that, like leadership management role throughout my career, and then the bulk of my marriage load was on me. When you're dealing with a narcissistic person, they make you, they think that they're the hero, but really, you're just actually more like being their slave for everything else,
Sure.
but making you feel that that's how you have to be. So it's like I just had to push and push and push, and burnout was real, but I couldn't even let the burnout happen. But then it's like as the kids got a little older and things, it's like I had to start stepping back and understand, it's like, okay, you're going to push yourself. When my doctor said, when I was trying to go to school, run the business, my dad was in the hospital, my mom was in the hospital, the kids were still at home, and she's looking at me, she's like, you need to quit school. You need to do something because you're going to be dead in 6 months if you keep this up. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. Let's take a step back here.
Right.
So can't keep doing this. Need to learn how to disconnect from things. And the whole process to me was more enlightening, because that's when you actually start learning what your body says. And then it really wasn't until earlier this year that I started working with a coach on getting my nutrition balance out. Is like, oh, well, okay, these foods were causing this issue and this was doing this because I didn't have the time to sit and recognize it.
Yeah. It is a full-time job. Let's be real. Like when I tell people about me, and I know that I was in a privileged space, and if I wouldn't have been with Tony and in our home and had the amazing clients that I have, like I would have still figured out a way to do what I had to do. Probably would have involved moving back in with my parents' house. Probably would have involved some kind of personal loan. Like those, it would have been a different situation, but it had gotten to that place where I didn't have a choice. Or there was going to be like permanent damage issues going on. And so when that happens and you have to figure out how to function and learn what you actually can control, because a lot of it you can't. But when we can find the things we can control, like for me, it's gluten. It definitely is a big kicker. And there's a couple other specific foods. I had, a 9-month period where I could not eat very many things because on my food sensitivity test, everything was red. And so now it's not anymore. I gave myself the break and I'm able to, have bananas again and peanut butter, which is exciting. But in that case, what a lot of people don't think about is that it becomes a full-time job while you already have a full-time job. So like you said, the space of learning to listen to our bodies, because when we just have to do the stuff, no one teaches us to listen to our body's part at all. It's definitely not taught in our culture. And it's definitely not taught, like, I can't remember, where were you living before you came to Missouri?
Indiana.
Okay. So still Midwest. So Midwest frame of mind, we're not learning how to eat healthy food or take care of ourselves or listen to our bodies. Like that is definitely not being preached to us at all. I remember thinking about how now we don't go anywhere, without water. I know you were like walked in, you're like, oh, I don't have my water. But I can't remember a time seeing my parents drink water when I was younger. I just had family in town and I didn't see any of them drink water. Actually, I was thinking the whole time, like, oh my God, I don't want to say anything because I'm not your mom, but like, you guys need to be drinking water.
Oh, exactly.
But those pieces where when you start to learn and once you know, I don't know about you, but for me, it's like once I know what's hurting me that I can actually control, I can't unknow that. Like you have to stop doing that stuff to yourself.
Right. I mean, one of the big things with fibromyalgia, aspartame is a huge thing that causes, your joints, your muscles, everything to hurt. Of course, they don't tell you what causes it. It's nerve, it's this, or it's all in your head. I don't know how many times I've ever told it's all in your head.
Yeah.
But like I haven't and Diet Pepsi was my constant go-to. That's what kept me going. It's like, cause I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I'll, do a Starbucks here and there, but it's like, I'm not a get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee before I do anything. I get up in the morning and grab a Diet Pepsi, and go.
And little did you know that Diet Pepsi was like poisoning you, basically.
Exactly. So it's like, I haven't had Diet Pepsi or any type of like diet soda that has aspartame in it for 4 years now. And then once in a great while, I'll drink a zero sugar soda. Well, then I can tell immediately if that zero sugar was using sucralose or aspartame, because if it's aspartame, then I am like on fire the next day, and it's like miserable. And it's like, okay, well, that's another thing off my list, and this, and it's this and this and this. So my mainstay becomes more water or
Mhm.
unsweetened tea or, little things like that.
Yeah.
Occasionally a soda with sugar, because diet soda is even worse for you because it makes you eat more. A regular sugar soda is
Yeah.
better in small quantities.
Yeah.
In America, the fast food and the processed
Mhm.
foods and everything else, it just keeps people becoming heavier and heavier and heavier.
Mhm.
And of course, me being the mom working 60, 70 hours a week, even while I was married. At one point, I had two jobs, and then I went into management, and I'm never home. And it was fast food this and fast food that,
Yeah.
or throw a frozen pizza in. I didn't set my kids up for success, and my kids are heavy because of that. And so
Right. You
now
didn't
is
know, so they didn't know.
yeah. So and now as I start the process I'm in, we start trying to get them to understand what they're doing to their bodies
Mhm.
since they're 26 and 24, so they're not at almost 50 trying to reverse those effects like I am
Right.
now. And so maybe they can have a more active and better lifestyle than I did through my 20s, because my 20s and into my 30s I was a mom and I was working, and like I said,
Mhm.
I mean, it's just constantly. And then I became a single mom,
Mhm.
and single mom with middle school, high school kids, and your whole world collapses. Which in part of it was my fault, part of it wasn't. But when you have to do what you have to do to take care of the kids,
Yeah.
you do it.
Right. 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 I know it. And it's what's nice though, like you said, with their ages, like you have the opportunity to educate them and give them the tools to turn that around for themselves because we don't know any better. I watched my brother do that with his kids. And because we weren't raised that way, we both joked about how we had to get used to the taste of fresh vegetables because we always had canned vegetables. We didn't even eat frozen vegetables. We ate
Mm-hmm.
canned vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And so like a fresh green bean or a fresh piece of asparagus tastes drastically different than anything we were ever used to.
Right.
And so he wanted to make sure because we learned those lessons, he's like, I want to teach my kids this. Now, him and his wife, they made that decision and they've done a great job with it. But it is something again that we had to learn on our own. And now we're teaching our parents. My mom had a heart attack like right after she turned 60. And she was the least person you thought would have one. And I had to take my dad to the store, teach him how to read nutrition labels
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't know. Because they hear sodium, they think salt. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that's a smidge of it. That's really not even the thing. So
Right.
anyway, I think it's so important. And one of the things that you touched on, there's two pieces that I think are so important that I tell people all the time. If you're, like you said, having a soda now and then is not the enemy, right? I think that when we put ourselves, well, I don't think I know, when we put these harsh rules about whatever it is, whether it's TV or candy or soda or whatever it is, I can never have it ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you're allergic to it and it's going to cause you, to go into anaphylactic shock, then it's a different story.
Right.
But every once in a while, like what that does is it allows our system not to feel like we're like it's wounded or it's in trouble or it's whatever all the time. So that is balance, is what it is, right?
Right.
And that's the key to the game. And so, how many pounds did you say you're down?
So, since the first of the year when I started working with my coach, I am down 65 pounds. But overall, from my heaviest weight, I am now down almost 110.
That's exciting.
So,
Well, yeah, and a lot of it is from food choices, right?
mm-hmm.
And learning what would cause inflammation in your body, which then makes your body hold on to weight
Mm-hmm.
and makes it harder to move and all the
Mm-hmm.
things. And so we have opposite problems. My problem was my whole life that people would say, "Oh, that's so great. Like, look how skinny you are." And I'm like, "I am not well.
Right.
I am not okay." I was not eating well, but what
Mm-hmm.
I was eating, my body wasn't using.
Mm-hmm.
And so my muscles and everything organs were like starving all the time, no matter what I was doing. And no one, again, it must be all in my head.
Right.
But it was a problem that, there was a time in my life where I was mad about it. And this last journey, I've had to have there's specific time with Tony, especially, I'll say, I just need to express my frustration out loud. Because when you are used to just tucking these things away and learning how to still behave or not behave, but how to still have a positive outlook so that you can, not just be miserable all the time. Because don't feel good and then you act miserable, it's just a terrible,
Right.
deal. And so I had to learn that it was okay for me to be frustrated and to talk about feelings of frustration because this isn't fair.
Right.
And it's so much. And that was a mind fuck, to be honest. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, that's the only phrasing
Yeah.
when it comes to that, of me realizing, like, oh my gosh, okay, that doesn't make me not a positive person.
No.
Makes me human.
Right.
The other thing I think that's interesting when you start working with a coach is that they don't make you set unrealistic goals and expectations.
Right.
And it feels like you've expressed to me a little bit that when you guys have started working together, that's how it is.
Very much so. So like when I first met mine and we did a, FaceTime interview, and I mean, she'll choosy on who she takes because she wants to make sure she's getting the person who's actually not only going to listen, understand that how she she's doing it out of love because she genuinely cares to get you on a better path.
Mhm.
But she also wants somebody who's going to fulfill or keep going.
Yeah.
That's not going to just be like, whatever. So like with our first meeting, and I told her, I said, look, I am busy. I travel, I have shows, I do this, I run this business, my hours are all crazy. I can't say I'll tell you I'm going to be available every weekend, but when I am home and I'll be available and I will do what you say. But it wasn't what discover that so many people when it comes to weight loss or changing your lifestyles, they focus strictly on the food, the nutrition, the exercise.
Mhm.
Like realistically, I haven't even started much exercise in what I'm doing now because you have to not only to fix your body, you have to fix your mind. So it's also talking about boundaries because I didn't have those and didn't know how to set those because that's just not the how I was. So learning how to set those and trying to starting to put little boundaries in place to work up to hard boundaries, which has been a very difficult thing with my father, but I'm not doing well with it, but I'm trying my best.
Mhm.
But and then setting a work boundary in a home, and to cutting off work from home when I get home and being like, okay, I'm not answering this work call anymore. I'm done. Trying to set those just to improve your mental health because if your mental health isn't right, then you're not going to be able to fix anything else. And then she helped me reconnect, um, finding a good home church and reconnecting with God. And because I hadn't had a good home church since I left Indiana. So it's all these little things that we do in whole to make not only, to make you well and better. And the weight loss is just a fun byproduct
Mhm.
because you're doing all the things. And when you do all the things, then the weight just like goes away.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time about like, see, you're doing this, you're doing this, and you're doing this, and you're not even paying attention to the scale. It's like, really, I'm not. It's like, oh, well, heck, I just bought all new clothes and now I have to give 3/4 of it away again
Yeah.
because I just went down another size. And it's like, well, I have nothing to wear, but I have to go buy new clothes and then I have to turn around and give it away
Mhm.
again because that's just how it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, I haven't been below 300 pounds since I think 2011, 2012. And
Mhm.
a lot of my weight increase was medication induced,
Mhm.
going from gabapentin and, different Cymbalta, gabapentin, try this, to finally try to get something because your doctors will throw anything at fibromyalgia to see if it'll stick.
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't working. I did like lose one job because the gabapentin put me in such a sleep coma that
Mhm.
I would sleep through work or fall asleep and not wake up,
Yeah.
to go to work or anything. So it's like, I can't do these things.
Right.
So it's like, go back to the drawing board. Nope, I don't want to do this. Let's do this. Let's try this.
Oh boy. Well, and I'm so glad you found this coach though, because then it puts the ball in your court a little bit more, as far as understanding with nutrition how that can help. But it really is, meaning food can be medication, right? Like food is medicine. But it all comes down to the mindset. Like as you're talking about it, I'm like, Operation B, yes. Because everything is that way. What I have clients come to me with a business issue, a relationship issue, a self-esteem issue, whatever it is, it comes back down to how we operate every day here and having the space and having the boundaries. Because if we let, especially again, it definitely is a Midwest thing. where we let everybody just take everything from us.
Mhm.
Well, we do it to each other. Everybody does it to everybody else, and we
Right.
think nothing of it. So no one's being nasty. It's just the way that we all are. I remember my coach saying to me about a year ago, have you ever heard of enmeshment or enmeshment?
Mm-mm.
Oh boy, this one's gonna blow your mind. So I was talking to her about some of these like very stressful situations that were happening in different relationships in my life, and they were really bothering me. And we were talking about them a few weeks in a row, like to the point where she like knows the people, like she knows who I'm talking about.
Mhm.
So obviously I'm talking about them a little more than I probably should. And what she explains to me is she was like, to maintain a very healthy one or two really solid intimate relationships is a lot of work and energy. And you're trying to maintain like 25 of them. And I'm like, well, I didn't know that that's not what I should be doing. And she was,
Right.
that that's what you do. And she was like, no, it really isn't. What the enmeshment is that when every kind of what you said about what you've been doing with work too, when every single thing that someone that you love or know is doing is affecting you physically and mentally, that's not healthy.
Right.
That's not how it should be. Like you can't, if you're sitting at home having actual physical symptoms of stress because of a decision someone else made because you care about them so much and that you're so involved in their lives, you're never going to be able to take control of your own nervous system if that's
Mhm.
where your system is. And so learning that was mind boggling, but it was also to the point where I was like, how do I undo that? And so I think this would benefit you in the same way it did me, was that I realized that when I love people and care for them, it's very sincere and I can trust that.
Right.
And so I can trust that that's there. And if somebody really needs me, I will always be there. But I don't need to know about every single fight they had that day with every single person they came in contact with, or, all of those things.
Mhm.
And so letting go of that, it creates, I think, a moment of isolation that feels a little weird. But then it became really, really comfortable and like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. And so it comes with boundaries, but it's more so you making those decisions. What we like to look at it as, if we have like a leaky boat, right?
Mhm.
Somebody's pulling out of that boat without your permission.
Right.
Like, how do I fix that, patch that hole?
Mhm.
Because otherwise my boat's going down,
Right.
you know? And so those pieces if you don't pay attention to the mental and emotional aspects, it will make anything physical, whether it's weight loss or healing something, impossible.
Right.
It's just the truth. Like I think about your job and what you do at such a scale and think like if you didn't, 'cause I didn't know you before you were doing this mindset work and working on these things for yourself.
Right.
But I think, man, no doubt was that just like all consuming. So tell everybody a little bit about the company and
Okay.
what you guys do, because I think that the way you describe it is my favorite. So go right ahead.
Okay. So, Spas and More was started by my dad in 2006. We are a master spa dealer. We sell hot tubs, swim spas, cold plunges, and infrared saunas. Master Spas is an American company in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My dad's been selling Master Spas since 1996, so it's rapidly approaching 30th anniversary
Mhm.
for him starting with Master Spas and Master Spas as a whole. Most people look at what we sell as being like luxury. Oh, I can't afford that. Which, granted, that's what a hot tub is in most people's minds, but it's actually, we're selling people a lifestyle and a wellness, a way to relax, a way to get physically better, to improve your mental health, because there's so many health benefits that can come from the products we sell. Cold plunging helps with, recovery and inflammation, and infrared saunas can help with mindset and getting rid of toxins. Swim spa helps with exercise, especially for people who have arthritis, who can't do traditional like treadmills and stuff like that because it's too much pain on their joints. Our hot tubs have biomagnetic therapy built into them to help stimulate red blood cells, to help with inflammation, helps you get a good night's rest. So it's a full on wellness package in the products that we sell.
Mhm. I love it. Because I used to think that. I
Mhm,
used to definitely think that it was a luxury item. And before I knew Tony,
mhm,
and meeting Tony and seeing the way he does life as an athlete and his body, he operates so differently. I mean, he's influenced me in such great ways when it comes to my health. But that's also all he's ever known. That's how he was raised. He started doing that, at 3 years old. He started
right,
taking care of his body that way. But so and in Canada, their mindset in around food and all that is drastically different than it
exactly.
is here. And so, even 40 years ago, it was a very different ballgame. And so with that though, learning because we have a hot tub,
Mhm.
doesn't work right now, guys.
Well, that's
Don't
why I
worry, we're
say
working
you
on it.
gotta call Brian.
I know we have a plan, geez. But we were talking about, our pool and how it was probably many years that Tony and I were together before I really realized what he was using our pool for. That it wasn't just because it was relaxing.
Mhm,
It was helping his joints. It was helping his pain. And that's when I started to realize that. So I remember when you first talked about that spas and hot tubs and the products that you sell are a wellness tool. And I remember hearing someone talk about the fact that if you're paying X amount of dollars a month for a massage package, right? And you're going every
mhm,
month for a massage, you actually can get more benefits from using a hot tub on a regular basis than a massage as far as even lymphatic drainage
mhm,
and stimulation and
mhm.
relaxation, but it hits deeper without the recovery time.
Right, exactly.
So that's huge. And I remember thinking, "Oh, damn. Like no wonder I feel like crap when I leave a massage. I don't want to do that."
Well, then, like you're talking about Tony and the joints and everything, like
Mhm.
when you're doing exercise, you have to realize, like, if you're walking on a treadmill, yeah, every time you take a step, it's your full on body weight going on to every pressure of your joint.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just breaks stuff down, especially if you're a heavier person like me.
Yeah.
So, like at my heaviest, every time I took a step, it was, 398 pounds hitting every pressure. And then when you're talking about like your alignment, your back, your pain issues, it
Mhm.
starts from the feet up.
Yeah.
So when you're going into a swim spa and you're trying to walk against a resistant current,
Mhm.
your buoyancy,
Yeah.
you're actually only getting 2 pounds of pressure for every
Yeah.
step you take in water. And you can, you don't have to necessarily swim in a swim spa. You have a current that you can walk against, that you can row against, that you can do Zumba in, any type
Oh,
of
okay.
that gives you that resistance without the extra exertion of the full weight of you being
Mhm.
on every joint.
Right.
And it's so much better for those people who have joint problems and arthritis, and people who are heavier, who have to have knee surgery, hip surgery for rehab purposes.
Yeah.
People who hockey players have get some beat up some of the worst besides football players.
Mhm.
So being
Hips,
able to
legs,
recover,
shoulders.
yeah,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
able to recover is so key,
Mhm.
because that's what keeps us going.
Mhm. Well, yeah, absolutely. No, I always think back to when I was a kid and my grandma would go to Aquasize. So she would go up to the community center
Mhm.
and put on her little hairnet and
Mhm.
she would do her water aerobics.
Mhm.
And my mom started doing it recently, and I'm so glad because she has a lot of knee problems and different things. And I was like, Mom, it's the best thing you could possibly do. But then learning a little bit more about why the swim spas were created. Like, obviously, if you guys don't know, they were created by Michael Phelps, created the one that you guys have with you
Mhm.
because he wanted certain specs that he could adjust, right?
Yeah, so swim saws had been out since about 2008 roughly. Um and they were like propulsion driven, Master Spas, Endless Pool. There were several other ones that were making them. But in 2012, Michael placed second. He got silver
Mm.
in the butterfly. He doesn't do silver in the butterfly. That is his signature. That's where the majority of his gold medals have ever come from. So after that, he wanted an edge for training. So Bob Bowman, his coach, contacted the 5 swim spa manufacturers at the time, set up test runs. Michael went to all of them. When he came back to it, he came back to Master Spas and says, "I really like your propulsion system, but Number one, at that time, it was only 51 inches tall, so like a little over 4 foot of water.
Mhm.
He's like, it's too short. I mean, Michael is a tall man, but
Yeah.
his arm span, his wingspan is almost double
Oh,
his.
yeah.
He's absolutely huge on that aspect. And he's like, and it's not quite fast enough.
Mm.
We were faster than the others, but he wanted something faster. So with his input, with Bob Bowman's input, with the matrix and his swim speeds and everything,
Yeah.
we ended up developing the what's now the Michael Phelps signature swim spa, which is it was an 18-foot, 60 inches tall, 5 foot of water, has the widest openings for him to be able to do a full butterfly. And with our professional propulsion system, when it gets up to its top speed, it's pushing approximately 4 knots of water.
Okay.
It's enough. It's fast enough that Michael can only run 3 minutes at that top speed.
Ah.
So, and we've continued our partnership with Michael ever since then, developing the Legend Series hot tubs, which are fully designed not only for therapy but for athletic recovery. And then in 2023, he came to Master Spa because after he retired in 2016, he became very open and very vocal about his mental health, everything that he endured, the things that was going on after his DUI arrest, everything, and the things that he began doing to improve his mental health. One of those was cold plunging. But he finally got tired of having what he said, going to Costco and buying, 20 bags of ice a day so that he could cold plunge.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Master Spa and said, hey, let's do this. And that's how the Chili Goat was formed, which is the cold plunge that's self-contained with a cooling system. No ice is needed, so it cools on its own. You can actually goes down to I think the lowest is actually 38 degrees it'll go down to. But you can also heat it for a personal hot tub, make it up to 104. And then as we continue down that wellness path with Michael is how in 2024, the Sweaty Goat infrared saunas were born. So because of that was another aspect that not only he liked for mental health, but his wife, Nicole, did.
Okay.
So that was kind of how our partnership has grown. And we're still, Michael's still an integral part of Master Spas. We do have the pleasure and the fortunate to get to meet him and spend some time with them talking about life in general. Like every other dealer meeting or so, we get a chance to talk with them about what's
Nice.
going on. The last one was last year when we were in Tucson and he was just getting ready for baby number 4 to be born. So, we've kind of seen him go through that whole process of, the Olympics and kind of growing up in his own and meeting his wife and getting married and the 4 kids. So they've really been a part of, and now Master Spas has transitioned into helping a lot of swimmers, and we have Ironmen that train in our products, and we've designed a swim spa for Ironmen that will help with them, that they don't necessarily need that pro setting. But when you're a D1 swimmer or you're an Ironman or you're an athlete, you need something a little bit more than just a basic, swim spa that you and I would buy.
Right.
So we're developing all of those because we're in tune with all of these athletes. But it's not just about athletes. It's about the everyday person who wants to feel better,
Yeah, and it's a tool that a lot of people don't realize exists. And that's the cool part, actually, that I like about it, because it does help athletes that are, of course, when I talk about athletes, I talk about retired athletes because that's where my mind immediately goes. But I see the things that they deal with. People like to tell Tony that, man, I loved watching you play. Like, do you miss it? And he was like, no, I pay for it every day. Very aware of what I did on the ice. I feel it every day.
right?
And that's real, and I watch those guys with that. And so having the thing that I think about a lot when I think about Michael helping you guys design things is the size portion, because that's where a lot of people don't think about that, as just like we discussed. And then I would like you to tell them about the Sapphire. Is that what it's called? No, the spas that were designed specifically for people with lupus.
Oh, the Twilight?
Twilight, there it is. But I think when you think about, most companies don't create things. They don't even make shirts that fit guys as big as Tony and Michael. So it's very unique to find those products that fit, a 6 foot plus 300-pound muscly guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Reed Lowe will fit in those.
Yep.
He's a big old man. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Reed really liked the 21 foot, so
Yeah.
that's what he wants for his house.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So it's nice to find that. It's just not common, not every one of them fits, but you don't think
Right.
about that.
Mhm.
So tell me about, because I think that's so special about the series that the owner created. It was for his daughter, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bob Louder, who started Master Spa, who retired in 2023 from being the CEO, his daughter Lisa has lupus. She's not like me. She has full blown lupus. She just doesn't have the little things that, like, okay, I can have the little butterfly rash today and feel like this and this and this because my lupus side is flaring. No, she has full blown lupus. And so she was also an athlete playing soccer and things like that. So when we look to bring out a new line, they were looking at what they could do to help somebody like Lisa. For a lot of people who have arthritis or lupus or things, there's all these other little things that go with it. There's a condition called allodynia, which is you can't stand direct pressure. Like sometimes even the clothes you wear irritate your skin.
Right.
Most hot tubs are comprised of small little pinpoint jets. Those direct jets can leave bruises and hurt. And that is something like where Lisa couldn't get any type of decent recovery or because it would hurt her too bad. So the Twilight series was born for Lisa and for people like Lisa. So the jets are bigger. They're spread out for more muscle groups. They're spread out for more trigger points. There's not one single jet that makes a little a little, direct, like pencil size bead. They're all wide open. And then we started taking portions of those sales. Master Spa started donating to the Vera Bradley Lights for Lupus Foundation. And then once we started doing things like those, now we actually have Master Spas Cares where we take and dealers across the country and the world actually contributed to this too, where we now donate to like Lupus Foundation, Michael J. Fox Parkinson's Foundation, Tunnel for Towers, St. Jude, just everything that we do. But we're taking all of those things because our products help those people. But by far, the Twilight to me is one of the most therapeutic spa on the market. I've never seen anything that's any better than it. But it was fitting. It was creating something for a need that people did not have out there. So,
and it's cool when you shared that with me. I was like, wow, that's amazing, because people don't think about the just the differences in what we all need. I just had this really random thought while you were saying that, because I was like, I wonder if we got a different hot tub, if what we would get. And I didn't. Is that, because I know in your showroom, you can come in, you can see the hot tubs, they're on. There's some of them are on, some of them are filled. Can you like get and sit in it? Yeah. I thought so. I was like, I bet you could go sit in it and see if you like that or not.
That's why we have them up and running. I mean, we encourage people to come in. I mean, it's a large purchase. It's as much as, a car. It's as much as, an RV, things like that. I mean, swim spas, when you're looking at like the Michael Phelps line, you're looking at something that's $60,000.
Right.
I mean, that's half of a house for some people,
right.
So yeah, we want you to come in and swim. We want you to come in and sit and play with all the jets. And, we have our three most popular lines running. So it's like, try one. If you don't like it, try the next one. If you don't like it, try this one. See which one fits you the best. The seating's all different.
Yeah.
The jetting's all different. They have different features, and we'd rather you do that than be like, oh, I want the cheapest thing here, get it home, and it's like, and then it's like, you sold me something that
and now you don't like it, right?
And so yeah, we always have that as an option.
Cool. That'll be a fun day. Me and Tony will come in our swimsuits and get in the hot tub and see which one works for both of us.
There you go. We'll stick it right. We'll start you in the Michael Phelps.
That'll be funny.
And then we'll
that would be funny actually, because drastically different people, right? And different needs, but yeah.
Well, you can always ask Cam how the Twilight felt, because he was sitting in there that one drinking the beer.
Oh, so. Yeah, that's true. You're right. You're right. That's funny. Okay, cool. I love that, because I think that when we can combine products that can be both luxurious and good for us that matters. And to let
Mhm.
more people know about that, I think is a big deal. Um, because it's one of those things that I always like, there's plastic surgery, like you don't find a bargain deal on a plastic surgeon. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
I don't understand. So I feel like the same concept is when if you're going to make a purchase on something that's for your health and for your wellness. Like we have a massage chair in our
Mhm.
house and it's a big dog because
Mhm.
Tony had to get one that fit him and
Right.
did all the things and whatever. But it was the same deal. Like we're going to get one, we're going to get the one that fits what we actually need.
Right.
And so having those options and just people knowing a little bit more about it, I think is huge. So something I like to always ask before we end our conversations is because everybody's lifestyle is drastically different, right? We all have demands and we all have, life. Well, you and I, our bodies do weird things. Um, for lack of a better way of describing it, just
Right.
weird stuff is going on. What is something that you utilize or is like a go-to for you to stay present and to stay in like the mindset you need?
Realistically, I think it's every day I wake up and first thing is like, okay, I'm awake, which means I'm here for another day.
Hmm.
And it's before you get up is you make that choice. So it's just a few minutes to like think on, how I'm gonna let this day go. They always sit there. I always thought it was funny because you sit there, people who are in a bad mood, they say, oh, we woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. And my
Hmm.
thinking is there is no right or wrong side of the bed. It's how you choose to get up.
Yeah.
So that's usually my focus is the first thing is I can't get up like the minute my alarm goes off, I have to snooze. But during that whole time when I'm like trying to get my body to wake up to actually move,
Hmm.
it's like, okay, how am I going to let this day affect me?
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of like how I have to do that because if my mindset is if I'm letting something bother me right away,
There goes
then
the
there
day.
goes the day.
Hmm.
So, I mean, Biscuit could be like ripping up my slipper and running around, while I'm trying to get ready or do something. It's just like, okay, dude, just give it back to me. I can't, those frustrations, you just kind of have to let it roll
Yeah.
because it sets up your tone. So,
Hmm.
usually my way I start is my mindset before I leave the house.
Yeah. It's huge. I agree with that for sure. I know one thing that Tony and I talk about that his dad told him when he was a kid, which it's a great saying and it will equally piss you off sometimes, is that no one can adjust your mood without your permission.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like when I am in the morning in doing what I'm doing in my morning routine, whatever it is, that I think that too. And sometimes the day people still get us, right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
sure happens because we're human. But when the focus is, you know what? No, I'm not going to allow that. I get to control my peace. I get to control how I'm handling a situation. I think starting the day that way always is the right thing. I was reading a thing. This just made me think about this. I was reading a thing about how with moms, where if they're starting their day super frantic, then that's what their kids have the
Mm-hmm.
rest of their day too.
Right.
I remember thinking, "Oh my god, how many times was I super frantic like
Mm-hmm.
in the morning with anybody,
Right.
my own mom. I was the one being frantic to her and it's just how much we can affect
Mm-hmm.
our whole day based on how we start it.
Right.
So that's beautiful.
And I think too, because it's something that I've been trying to get my daughter to understand, because now she's stepped into a managerial role. She's running our store in Overland Park, and she's never done that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'll get a phone call, and she's like, upset because a customer did this or said this or blah 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 blah. And it's like, look, honey, you number one, you can't control, you know, their thoughts. You have to think about it that they're having a bad day, so they're trying to take it out on you, but you can't let that affect you. I said, but you also have to realize that you have to give grace,
Yeah.
you know, because if you cannot give grace in those situations, it's going to eat you alive and you're going to be do nothing but break down and cry and be mad and be angry, and then you're going to in turn take that anger, that frustration out on somebody else. And
Yeah.
you're just like the person who did that to you. So somebody's always having an issue, a bad day. You never know what they're going through. So you always have to grant somebody grace.
Very true. Very true. And it just gives so much pressure off of your own chest too. Not only is it a kind thing to do for someone else, but it's good for you too. Well, good. I love it. I always like leaving the conversations that way because then, well, also I'm like, you guys better listen to the end. That's where we give you a good little nugget to take away. But thank you for coming on and chatting
Oh, it's
with
my
us.
pleasure.
And then I'll make sure to tag your business and your socials and stuff in
Mhm.
below. So if you guys want to learn more about Angie and Spas more, you should follow them on Facebook because they post really beautiful, peaceful photos of gorgeous backyards all the time. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. You'll like it. It'll bring you joy, I promise. As always, guys, thank you so much for being here. And if you liked this episode, please make sure to hit that like button and share this over with someone who you think may find it beneficial. Every time you share the episode, it helps me get in front of more people and helps support the show. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share the podcast wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.